Hi, my name is Armas. I'm author and instructor of the Speak MySQL Performance training for developers and DBAs. In this short video, I want to quickly introduce myself and tell you more about this training so you know exactly what to expect from it. In a nutshell, here's what students will take away from this training. One-day expert training is designed for both developers and DBAs. After completing this training, students not only will be able to configure their MySQL servers for best performance, but more importantly, they'll acquire key MySQL performance management skill, query and schema optimization. It's this skill that they will use day to day to improve query performance hundreds to thousands of times. Two-day Expert Plus training includes a full hands-on day where we put the skills acquired on day one into practice. This is kind of like a guided live consulting session, and whenever possible, we do this with your actual systems or close copies of them. Day 3 Master Training is a MySQL internals deep dive. It's pretty hardcore, and unless you're doing a lot of troubleshooting, I would recommend against it. So if you think you need this, make sure to discuss it with me first. But beware that most application developers will find it too intense, and it only makes sense for DBAs and SREs. My own journey with MySQL began more than 17 years ago, when I started working as a systems engineer in a small internet shop. I was fascinated by the LAMP stack, so I've been studying a lot what others were building with it. Soon, I ended up working with various groups of developers on building large-scale applications myself. As a lead systems architect, I was responsible for scaling 4 largest websites in my home country, running on over 30 servers. That was back in 2004. 2 years later, I joined Percona, now the largest independent MySQL consulting firm, as their first performance consultant. And I've spent over 9 years working with this incredibly talented team, helping companies such as BBC, Rocket Internet, BoardReader, largest social networks, and over 100 other companies of different shapes and sizes. A few years ago, I founded Speedemy, where I help companies worldwide achieve their performance goals not only by consulting them, but also by teaching how they themselves can make the systems faster and more scalable. The training is designed for developers, DBAs, and SREs who are well familiar with MySQL and don't shy away from MySQL command line and Linux OS in general. So it is not a MySQL 101, but a couple years of experience with MySQL should be more than enough. The training is delivered either on company premises or in a convenient remote location. Here's some more details on each of 3 training days. Day 1, Expert, covers key MySQL performance management skills. In this class, students will learn how to optimize MySQL configuration and how to do query and schema optimization. We'll go over key MySQL configuration variables to understand better what they do, when and how we should be tuning them. Then, we'll go over the basics of query optimization, the method, MySQL profiling, index internals, and explain. And finally, we'll work on more advanced topics such as multi-column indexes, covering indexes, join optimizations, optimizer hints, and so on and so forth. In other words, after this day, students will become internal MySQL performance consultants. On day 2, I'll work with your team to put the skills we learned on day 1 into practice. I found that this practice greatly helps students retain the skills learned on day 1. It is usually very illuminating too, because some of the things we learn on day 1 are actually hard to believe until you see it with your own eyes and on your own systems. Day 2 is where I usually see the most jaw drops, and whenever possible, I highly recommend to take it. Day 3, Master Training, is a different story. It's a MySQL deep dive, and like I said, I highly recommend to think twice before going with this option, as it includes some really hardcore stuff. On this day, students will learn how MySQL interacts with server hardware, CPUs, disks, memory. We'll go really deep into MySQL internals, from concurrency control to transaction logging. And finally, we'll discuss different types of application architectures and MySQL role in scaling application. I'm only doing 4 training sessions in the year of 2018, so if you made up your mind, use the link below to schedule a 30-minute call and discuss all the details. Otherwise, I would like to invite you to a free webinar where I will present this training so you can learn more about it and get any questions answered. Check the Speedemy trainings page for specific dates. If you have a question and can't wait, drop me an email at ormas@speedemy.com. Otherwise, I hope to see you soon, in your place or whatever other place you choose.